A favorite riddle from grade school is what's black and white and red all over? And of course the answer is newspapers. Newspapers can be such a wealth of information about your family. They can help you to understand the times when they were living, but also you can find very specific things that your ancestors or family members did that were reported in the newspapers. A lot of these will help you to track and do your family history. So today we're going to have an introduction to two subscription newspaper sites, newspapers.com and NewspaperArchive.com. We have free access here at the BYU Family History Library, and many other family history libraries also will have this access. How do I access them? At BYU on the home page, you would click on newspapers, or in the middle of the page, this button will get you to the listing. Here is a partial listing. You can see how extensive it is. We're going to scroll down to the ends for Newspaper Archive and newspapers.com and look at these two sites. Here is newspapers.com. When you go to this website, you will see some of these features. They say they have 3,700 newspapers, and more pages and papers are being added monthly. They would like you to click here and subscribe. This is the search tab, the browse tab, papers, and clippings. We'll look at these. Also, one of the fun features are the headlines that they are featuring. Here's one from 1858. It says, the Washington correspondent of the Philadelphia Press says the administration has positive evidence that General Lane of Kansas is a Mormon spy. What a fun tidbit to see. Also, the other one they're featuring is 25-year-old Alfred Elson of England walks for 108 consecutive hours without sleep or rest. See, we really can do more and keep going. And I think he may have made the Guinness Book of World Records if it had been in existence back then. Their Get Started feature is wonderful. It's about a 5-minute video that will help you to navigate the site and understand the different parts of it. This shows the subscription rates. Now we're going to click on See Papers by Location in the center. When you click here, it brings up an interactive map. The markers show the number of papers that they have for each area. When you click on a marker, it will bring up a map like this, so you can see the field, and you'll notice that looking at the numbers, some areas have 400 or 500 different newspapers. Some have just a few, but it's worth looking, especially if they have an extensive collection in the areas that you have family. I'm zooming in one more time and clicking on a specific newspaper, and this will tell me where the paper was published and the years. So this can help me to see if there might be anything about my family. Now we're going to click on Search. When you do that, it brings up this field. You can enter names, places, dates, or a range of dates. You don't have to do all of that, but you can if you want to filter that much. This is clicking on Browse. When I click there, it brings up this page. We can filter by country, state, city, or newspaper, should we want to, or we can go to any level and then start our search. If we click on Papers, This search field will be displayed so we could search all newspapers, we could narrow by title, we could narrow by date with this slider bar, or we can search by location. Again, you don't have to filter this, but if you want to have a more specific search, it's easy to do. If we click on clippings, this will give us a place to store the little clippings that we have found in the newspapers. Again, this feature is not readily available unless you have a subscription, but all I did was use a snippet tool or the other tool and save the parts that I wanted of each page and loaded all of those on my flash drive. It's very easy to do. I did a search for Pettit, one of my ancestors, and I used the date filters, and I found the following, none of which I knew before I started this. Here's one, Edwin Pettit of 1847, party dies. So I have a death notice. I know when he died. I knew the details about this man, but not some of these that were in this little 2 or 3 inch newspaper article. It told me he was an 1847 pioneer, so when he came to Utah. It has his residence, 912 South 2nd West Street. This is in Salt Lake, and so I could go and look in Google Maps and actually see the house where he lived, if it still was in existence. It also tells me some of his history. It said he made freighting trips between Salt Lake and San Francisco, and he was at Fort Sutter when the first gold was discovered. It tells me when and where the funeral services will be held. All of this from one little source. Another one that I found has the listing of pioneers who worked on the Transcontinental Railroad and were at the Golden Spike ceremony. I had no idea that Edwin Pettit worked on the railroad. I also found this fun one. This was from 1886. And a tea and coffee company wanting to get a good start in Utah put all sorts of prizes in their 1 pound tins of coffee and tea. And then they listed all the people and their addresses of those who won prizes. These were diamond earrings, tie tacks, gold and silver coins up to the value of $200. It was incredible to read about. I guess you also learned something about the status of the word of wisdom at that time in the church. Here's real estate transfers. I found court cases. Here's an ad wanting to rent 40 acres with a well, with a water right, a nice orchard, 15 acres of lucerne, but he will only rent to a good man. Here's a little note. Mrs. Edwin Pettit, accompanied by Mrs. Miles Romney Jr., which happens to be her sister, left Tuesday evening for Mexico, where she expects to remain about 6 weeks visiting her sister. Can you see how these can help you to track family members and to sort out puzzles? Okay, now NewspaperArchive.com, the other one we want to look at. This claims to have the world's largest collection. They also are anxious for you to subscribe. And this would show some of the different plans and the subscription rates. This is their maps page. You can see it has markers. It's very similar to the other one. And it's easy to drill into a place to look in the areas where you're more interested in. Again, you don't have to filter, but you can. This site tends to have other newspapers, although not extensive, but from other countries around the world. This is their browse function. It's very similar to newspapers.com. You can filter by country, by state, city, newspaper, and year. This is a great site also. They have the SSDI, Social Security Death Index. I believe this is available on Family Search, but this is another source for it. This is their clippings page where you can save the clippings that you made. Again, I just saved those directly to a flash drive, and that was easy to do. So, what's black and white and red all over? Newspapers. We hope you do some reading. Let me show you this other very fun article that I found from NewspaperArchive.com. I did a search for my dad, John Westman, and it pulled up this page. I looked around and I finally found a notice that he and his brother Dick had a 10-minute show every week in Ogden where they played the guitar and the accordion. My dad played the accordion. I had no idea that he did this when he was in high school. What a fun thing to find out about my dad. So, find your own treasures in newspapers. We hope you are very successful, and thanks for watching.